Oliver Twist, Chapter 14. The Painting. Oliver was happy for the first time. His life with Mr. Brownlow was wonderful. He and the old gentleman often sat together in the study reading. Mr. Brownlow even helped Oliver learn his multiplication tables. "We'll send you to school in the fall, Oliver," he said, "just as soon as you are ready." "I'd like that very much, sir," Oliver said. "There wasn't much time in the workhouse for school. I can read a bit because some of the older boys taught me." Mr. Brownlow and Mrs. Bedwin were very fond of Oliver. The boy was a wonderful addition to their household. Mr. Brownlow thought there was something familiar about Oliver. He was certain that Oliver reminded him of someone. One afternoon, Mr. Brownlow pointed to a painting above a fireplace. "Tell me something, Oliver," he said. "Does the woman in the painting look familiar to you?" "I've noticed that before, sir," Oliver replied. He stood before the painting and examined it closely. "It's funny, but she looks a bit like me." He looked to Mr. Brownlow. "She is very pretty, though. Who is she?" he asked. Mr. Brownlow looked sad. "It's a very long story, I'm afraid, and not a very happy one." He put a hand on Oliver's shoulder. They both looked up at the painting. "A very good friend of mine gave me the painting shortly before he died. It's a picture of a young woman that he loved very much." "What happened to her?" Oliver asked. Mr. Brownlow looked down at Oliver. He ruffled the boy's hair. "I'm afraid I don't know, Oliver. I don't even know her name." Mrs. Bedwin came into the room with a package. "The bookseller dropped off your order, Mr. Brownlow. Shall I put it on your desk?" "Oh, I have some books to return," Mr. Brownlow said. "Has he already left?" "I'm afraid so," Mrs. Bedwin said. "That's a shame," Mr. Brownlow said. He sounded disappointed. "Let me return them," Oliver said. He was excited to be of some service to Mr. Brownlow. "You've been so kind to me," he said. "Please let me run this errand for you." Mr. Brownlow was not convinced. "Are you sure you're feeling well enough? Do you know the way to the bookstore?" he asked. "I'll be fine." "I feel fine, sir," Oliver said. "As good as I ever have. I won't get lost either, I swear." "All right, then." Mr. Brownlow laughed. "You can run this errand for me." Mr. Brownlow wrapped up the books with paper and string. He gave them to Oliver along with a £5 note. "Pay my bill at the bookstore and bring me back the change," he said. Mr. Brownlow looked at the boy's sweet face. It was truly remarkable how much Oliver looked like the woman in the painting. "I'll be back shortly," Oliver said brightly. As he ran out the front door, he yelled, "Goodbye, Mr. Brownlow. Goodbye, Mrs. Bedwin."